From a gluten-free diet, we go to vegetarianism. Vegetarians have a pretty bad rap, right? But when it comes to a way of eating, it is a pretty dang clean way of eating. It has some drawbacks, it has some negatives, but it also has a lot of positives, okay? And that's what we're going to show off here within this little bitty section. What is a vegetarian? Just a person who eats plant-based diets. Pretty fantastic, pretty easy. There are a number of different versions of vegetarians, though. So vegetarian is a very generalized name, not very specific, doesn't really tell you anything at all. We have the vegan. And when we think of vegetarian, this is what we think of. With a vegan, these are your hardcore vegetarians, right? No animal foods, nothing from an animal, no nothing, okay? It is literally all plant-based. But as you can kind of see, we have multiple different types or variations of vegetarianism. We have the lacto-ovo-vegetarian. They include milk and milk products, lacto. Ovo, it means eggs, so they include eggs, but no other animal food, so no meat. Ovo-vegetarian, eggs, but no other animal foods. Lacto-vegetarian, milk and milk products, but no animal flesh, no meat, no eggs. Pesca-vegetarian, milk products, eggs, fish. There's your pez, but no other animal food. And probably semi-vegetarian, or I like to call it, it's usually referred to as flexitarian, but they have semi-vegetarian here. So I would know both names. For most people who generally eat pretty healthy, most of them are semi-vegetarians or flexitarians. They eat meat, they eat fish, they eat chicken. They just don't eat red meat. They usually eat milk products, eggs, all that whatnot. They just don't eat red meat. And a lot of people kind of find themselves probably in, maybe this spot right here, maybe a little bit here, but probably this is where most people find themselves. Can overconsumption of chicken be just as bad as eating red meat? Oh, sure, yeah, of course. Overconsumption of anything is really bad. I think there was a study just two or 3 years ago that looked at, if red meat's got such a bad rap, so they looked at chicken, and those that overconsumed and ate certain types of chicken meat were found just to have just as high levels of some of the bad stuff as those that ate red. So is it necessarily superior? No, maybe not, okay, depending on what study you read. Most people will take out red meat because it may upset their stomach, or it can upset their stomach. And for me, I know from my anecdotal 2 bits I can put in, I know if I eat a lot of red meat, my stomach does get upset, does get irritated, okay? It's a protein structure, right? It's complex, takes time to break down, okay? And if your body's not used to that, it can be very irritable to it. Do I eat red meat every once in a while? Sure. Okay. I don't generally eat a whole heck of a lot of it, though. Turkey. Yeah, I do turkey. I do fish. A heck of a lot of chicken. That's generally what my diet's more based on. Can I have a nice, lovely medium steak, a medium rare steak? Oh, you betcha. But I don't do that a whole lot. And that's just for me. Why is this such a good thing? It's low in fat. Red meat can be very fatty depending upon the cut, obviously. 80-20 is a hell of a lot more fat than 95-5 or 90-10. So it does going to have lower fat. It's going to have lower energy. Okay? Again, when you're comparing this to a Western diet, which is, hello, us, that contain animal foods. Because it has lower fat, and lower energy, you're obviously not consuming the calories, so obesity levels, lower risk with the vegetarian. Obesity is the gateway into type 2 diabetes, hypertension, and certain cancers. So these individuals have been shown to have lower risk of type 2 diabetes, low high blood pressure, and certain types of cancers. And there are many types, obviously, as you know of, but it's only for certain ones. And not every single cancer responds the same way to this. If you're an adult and a vegetarian, lower in fat, lower in energy, no big deal, okay? Because you're hopefully going to be conscious enough to consume your fats in another location. But it's children that is a huge concern. Plants add a huge amount of bulk. Okay? They have a lot of fiber, and fiber draws in water as it tries to break it down. So for these individuals, they're going to fill up a heck of a lot faster. And so they're going to feel fuller and they're not going to eat as much. Less energy in, less calories in. And so this could get them to be potentially malnutrient. Right? If they're not eating, they're not getting enough in, they're not going to grow at the right rate. Just some of the advantages for a vegetarian diet. Great sources of vitamin C, which will do a number of fantastical things in the body. Vitamin E, potent antioxidant. Folic acid, number of lovely, fantastical things. Rich in phytochemicals, all kind of antioxidant in nature for the most part. Fiber, rich in magnesium, rich in potassium, things that we generally don't get enough of. Very low in saturated fats, as we stated on the last one, low in fat. So a lot of great advantages. The downfall, the disadvantages, low in energy, like we had on the last on the last slide. Low in calorie consumption, very detrimental for children. There are certain amino acids that are just not found in plants, and we'll get into that a little bit more. Or we talked about that, we talked about that when we were looking at various different protein profiles earlier. Low in omegas, the omega-3s, the DHA, the EPA, the more kind of anti-inflammatory omegas. Zinc, iron, calcium, vitamins B, D, and riboflavin, all of, iron is needed. It's a nutrient of concern for women, for girls, not getting enough of. Helps with making red blood cells, calcium, bone health. Vitamin B12 is going to be a severe deficiency for those who are vegetarian. It's only found in meat. So if you're a vegan, you don't get any of this. You got to supplement. Vitamin D, bone health. Throw a dart against the board for other parts that it's associated with in the body. It does a lot of different things. And so these are going to be very, very low. So supplementations, I'll just put sups for supplementation, will be necessary for these individuals to make sure they get the requisite amount of B12 to make red blood cells. For vitamin D, to ensure calcium gets absorbed properly to the bones. So there's a lot of possible disadvantages associated with a vegetarian diet. You got to supplement. Supplementation is going to be required.